government of Afghanistan could be among the very first targets of a coordinated air and ground attack.
The keys there are going to be their military capabilities, arms depots, supply dumps, where they have heavy weapons and artillery and tanks, their remaining aircraft, things like the base at Kabul.
I do think that we will try to minimize collateral damage. We don't want to create a great array of martyrs, and also we've got to reckon with the sensibilities of a very, very large Muslim population. I didn't say Arab population. I said a Muslim population, which is spread out across the world, and we certainly don't want to be perceived as cold-blooded killers as we go about this. So we're going to have to be careful. We're going to have to do this thing right.
Not like the Russians, in other words, who invaded Afghanistan in 1979, only to abandon it in a humiliating retreat 10 years later. Or the British, whose lone survivor of an 1842 massacre in Kabul is the subject of this famous painting.
Don't mass your forces. Don't try and hold territory. Don't try and engage in any kind of decisive battle, because the Taliban will just melt away and then snipe at you and reappear on their terms. So what we have to do is, first of all, if there are significant ground forces, they have to be Afghani.
In Afghanistan, forces loyal to Ahmed Shah Massoud have led the main resistance to the Taliban. But 2 days before the attacks in New York and Washington, suspected allies of bin Laden, posing as journalists, assassinated Massoud. His followers are now said to be in some disarray. And American military aid to any opposition group carries its own risks.
We have to be very careful. When you start going beyond the objective and you start backing an opposition movement, you have an obligation to it. Where do you stop? Once you've destroyed the terrorist network, do you then go on to trying to overthrow the Afghan government?
Afghanistan's neighbors present another thorny question. Today, the president of Pakistan's military government pledged cooperation on airspace, logistics, and intelligence. But thousands of Afghani refugees are already fleeing to his country, where the Taliban enjoy considerable political support. The new war may also involve special forces, targeting small terrorist cells scattered across more than 40 countries. In the past few days, administration officials have made it clear they won't be constrained by legalistic concerns.
I think of it in the sense of self-defense. And there is nothing that inhibits the United States of America from defending itself. And that is what we intend to do.
A lot of options that we had considered in the past to not only get Osama bin Laden, but also his lieutenants, were rejected. They were rejected because they were judged to be too risky. They were rejected because of collateral damage. This is not the case today.
The American track record on such operations is mixed. In Somalia, the Army's attempt to hunt down and capture the warlord, Mohammed Aidid, ended in a bloody failure. In Panama, U.S. troops did seize the renegade dictator Manuel Noriega at a cost of more than 300 military lives, including 23 Americans. Getting Osama bin Laden and his far-flung team could be even bloodier.
It's not easy to insert even the best trained men into a country which is divided into clans and cells, where people who live in the area not only know all of the routes, but almost routinely are watching for attack or threats from their neighbors.
So American forces are already moving out in what President Bush is now calling the first war of the 21st century. The barest outlines of a multifaceted U.S. strategy are just beginning to emerge. The Pentagon is keeping nearly all operational details close to the vest. And military analysts, including former generals, tell us to expect something comprehensive, ambitious, and risky. Ted?
Thank you, Chris. Risk is always part of any military effort. What are the risks in the war on terrorism, and can the U.S. afford to take them? Those questions and some answers when we come back.